Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review for you all. This movie is a comedy from Finland, Finnish language English subs, released in the year 2022, directed by Mikko Milalahti, and this film is called The Woodcutter Story. So The Woodcutter Story is set in Finland. It's a secluded town in the middle of winter, so it's very harsh and unforgiving in the snowy landscape, and we have a group of residents that treat each other like family. This is all they've known. They're very strong people, and they appear to be living the perfect life, but unfortunately the local factory shuts down and everyone loses their job. So everyone is down and out, they're all depressed, except for the main character, who's strangely positive about the outlook in life. So they don't know what the hell this guy is on, but he seems to be the only one that seems bright and cheery. But then his wife leaves him and his house burns down. So he only has his son now, but strangely again, he is very positive. And so the townspeople don't know what's going on with this guy, but the more they learn about the man, the more they start to learn about their own lives and what it takes to face adversity with courage. And so what happens to the townspeople and the main character is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Woodcutter's Story. This is a very, very difficult film to recommend to the wider audience. If you are a fan of deadpan humour, I would say go out there and see it, but if you're not a fan of deadpan humour and you like your humour that is much more obvious, then this is a movie that is not for you. You're going to find this film very, very boring, because it's very hard to misunderstand. This is a very deliberate, melancholic film, and that can really wear on people, but for me, being such a fan of deadpan humour, I got a lot more out of it. And so it is a very funny film, but if you're not prepared to look into the finer details, you're going to find this movie that doesn't have much appeal to you. And so what I really liked about this movie is, on the surface, it is a very melancholic film. It is a very, very deadpan comedy, and that deadpan comedy is through the very blunt interactions between characters. I thought the script is fantastic, and it's just the serious sort of subtleties that the movie has that actually makes the film funny. But as I said, if you're not prepared to look in the minor details, then you're not going to really like this film, because it's not that slapstick comedy, it's not that vulgar comedy, it's just a comedy that is done through the subtleties that is the everyday life of these townspeople. And so on the outside you have a very depressing film, but on the inside you have a very strangely uplifting movie. It's a movie that is about resilience. It's a movie about looking adversity in the face and never backing down, and this is everything that the main character symbolised. This main character was a vessel of courage and strength, and so if you have been through bad things in your life, you can really relate to this character. He's a very, very likeable individual, and I thought the actor did a fantastic job in portraying a character that was more a symbolisation of that courage that you need to face trauma, and how trauma can actually, you can choose trauma to be your the conqueror, or you could choose trauma to just add to your level of armour and basically become bigger and better. And that's exactly what this main character does. And so it is a very depressing sort of atmosphere that the film creates. I thought the snowy environment really emphasised that sense of isolation, and it's just a movie about being down in the dumps, life throwing horrible things at you, but this main character is refusing to step down, whereas all the other characters have given up, and so their life is getting worse. But I just felt as though, although this man was having so much bad luck, he was refusing to let go, and that's something that is very admirable. And I thought that was something that made this main character really, really likeable, but it's in a world that is very surreal. And so it is trying to have fun, but having fun in that very deadpan way, and so it's very easy to go by unnoticed, because if you're not prepared to really sit down and use your brain, you're not going to find too much about this movie that's worth the effort. So the acting from the supporting cast, all fantastic. It's basically devoid of all laughter. There's no real smiling, and so everyone feels as though it's an exaggerated sense of depression, and so it's really driving forward, as I said, that sense of resilience from the main character. He's that beacon of hope, he's that beacon of light amongst all the depressing atmosphere that is around him. So I thought, as though as the movie goes on, it gets more and more surreal. The interactions were quite bizarre. There was a man who, there's a character that can contact the dead, and I thought when he were actually introduced into the film, it just got crazier and crazier. But that level of craziness is contained through, as I said, that subtlety, that deadpan sort of quality to it, where it feels as though it's not really trying to be funny, it's just going through the motions. And so on one hand, if you're not into this style of humour, you can actually dismiss it as being a very boring film. But on the other hand, if you look into the script and you look into the characters, you could actually find something that is quite uplifting and strangely entertaining about the whole thing. So there are some shocking moments. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but the shocking moments are used very sparingly. It's not trying to be a movie that's going to shock you. It's a movie that is a deeply psychological sort of exercise, as I said, in that sense of courage and what happens to people who refuse to back down, and to people who actually are the opposite, you know, people who don't want to have that spirit. And so things go from bad to worse, but it's just how you look at a certain situation that makes you the person that you are, and I thought that worked really, really well. So atmospherically, I thought it was fantastic. The cinematography, excellent. Everything that you'd expect from this part of the world as far as production is concerned. If I have issues with the movie, as I said, it is very, very melancholic. It is really lacking any sense of enthusiasm for a very deliberate reason, and that can be a little bit grating. It's an hour and 30 odd minutes, but it does feel as though it drags a little bit towards the end, and that's something that I didn't like as much as I've liked in other films. I just felt as though this movie was starting to outstay its welcome by the time the movie finished. It does get a little bit too crazy for its own good, and I started to feel as though it lost sense of where it was going here and there, but thankfully it doesn't derail the experience. But as I said, it's definitely an experience that's for a very, very acquired taste. If you are into your different styles of comedy, it's not a laugh out loud comedy, but it's just a very quirky style that the movie has about it that makes you feel as though, okay, I want to be that resilient person. If you've gone through trauma and you've refused to give up, you can really relate to this main character, and it just shows you if you do give up, it's never too late to really get back on and start to, you know, build a bigger and brighter future for yourself. And so I thought the relationship between the main character and his son was fascinating. It was beautiful. And so the movie does have that level of beauty that really evens out that level of melancholy. On the surface, it is a depressing film, but on the inside, I thought as though there was a very strong heart that makes it worth the viewing. So it's definitely a movie that I wouldn't say you can watch over and over, but after one viewing, I will say go back and see it again, because you'll pick up on clues that you may have missed. And in the end, what it is about the human spirit and how we deal with the cruelties of the outside world. So overall, for the Woodcutter Story, going to give this one 3.5 stars. Nothing greater, because of the fact, as I said, it is definitely a film that I can see the wider audience hating. But for me, being familiar with this style of humour, I really appreciated what the Woodcutter Story was going for. As I said, that resilience is something I could really relate to, and therefore I'm glad I saw this film. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.